we are still looking at water as a chemical of what? Of life. So we are looking at thermal properties of water. Of what significance are they to living systems? So we begin with we continue with this one. Significance of water having a high latent heat of fusion. Water has a high latent heat of fusion. What does this mean? That for water to change from a liquid to a solid, or from a solid to a liquid, that is fusion, melting. From a liquid to a solid, or from a solid to a liquid, requires a considerable amount of heat. What does this mean? What does this mean? It means that water in water bodies, therefore, water in water bodies remains as a liquid amidst fluctuating environmental temperatures. Amidst fluctuating environmental temperatures. That even when environmental temperatures fluctuate, the temperature lowers, the water in the water bodies remains as a liquid. This ensures that aquatic life, living things in water, continue to live. Amidst fluctuating environmental temperatures. So imagine if water bodies were freezing when the temperature is lower to 5 degrees Celsius, and water in water bodies becomes a solid. It would mean that aquatic living things will no longer move. But also it has meaning to other living things. Ensures that water in the body systems like blood remains as a liquid for transporting body requirements. So imagine if blood was freezing in us, it would mean it freezes, nutrients can no longer be delivered to cells that need them, gases can no longer be delivered, even excretory products can no longer be taken where they are supposed to be removed. But water having a high latent heat of fusion protects us in that way, that whatever water gets involved does not freeze easily. Yes, it freezes as you're going to see, but it takes a considerable amount of heat to freeze and to change from being a liquid to become a solid. So that is water having those properties. So let's look at the last property, thermal property. Water having a lower density at temperatures below 4 degrees Celsius. So we say water has a lower density at temperatures below 4 degrees Celsius. We shall put in another format and say, for this, we can put in another format and say what they usually say: ice floats on water. Ice floats on water. But this statement is misleading because not every ice is what? Water. For us, we are going to say water ice floats on liquid water. Because you can have ice which is carbon dioxide, and you find when it is denser than water. But water ice, water as a solid, floats on water, a liquid. How does this come about? Why does ice float on water? The hydrogen bonds within the water complex, using that word complex, the one we began with, 4 water molecules bound together by hydrogen bonds. So the hydrogen bonds within the water complex pack in one place when temperatures go below 4 degrees Celsius. So this packing creates air spaces in the water complex, increasing the water volume. Yet we know, density is inversely proportional to volume. So the density lowers, that one leads to ice floating on water. How does this come about? I've put in some little bit of more chemistry here. How does this come about? We said in our water lattice, we have like 4 water molecules linked together by hydrogen bonds. Just to illustrate, that is partial negative, partial positive, partial negative, partial positive, partial positive, partial negative, partial positive, partial positive, partial positive, partial negative, partial positive. So they are linked together by hydrogen bonds, which were already illustrated. So we have our hydrogen bond there. We can have a hydrogen bond here. We can have a hydrogen bond there. We can have it here. Because hydrogen bonds are not static. They are not static bonds. They can move from one atom to another so long as there is hydrogen involved with a more electronegative element. So these hydrogen bonds, when temperatures cool, they will pack in one place and remain there. Remain in those positions, creating these air spaces. Those air spaces, when the temperatures cool, it will mean the volume of the water has increased, but the mass has not increased. And I've already said density is inversely proportional to the volume. When volume increases, the density lowers. So ice floats on water. Of what significance is this to living systems? It means, therefore, warm water is more dense than cold water. So let's take a scenario of those organisms that live in temperate regions that receive winter seasons. Do the lakes and other water bodies completely freeze? No. So we can say here and say, cold water floats on warm water. So in temperate regions, during winter seasons, temperate regions during winter seasons, surface water freezes and warm water remains below. To continue supporting aquatic life, what do we mean by continue supporting aquatic life? It remains as a liquid. But also, the air spaces in the ice formed ensures that oxygen continues to dissolve in warm water for aerobic reactions to continue. For aerobic reactions to continue. So the air spaces that are created in the water lattice will ensure that oxygen from the atmosphere passes via these air spaces, reaches the water, dissolves, for those aerobic organisms that are in the water bodies to continue accessing oxygen. So it is two-way. As the water that cools comes on the surface, when it forms the ice, it insulates the warm water below. So lakes do not freeze completely, and also the air spaces that are created during the winter seasons in the water complex ensure that oxygen continues to dissolve from the atmosphere into the water for aerobic processes to end. So in our next session, therefore, we shall look at importance of water to living things.